Hey everybody, Strainers103 here. Sorry for not having content out the last few days, but here we are. I will make up for this by having, I'll push you out 2 replays every day for the next couple of days since I actually have some time. And I'll be able to provide you with this, something unexpected to impact me happened. We're this time having a look at Reason New 24 from MDiv playing in his Taihou. Let me see if I can actually get the plane selected. It's minorly annoying with the way the replays work, but here we are looking at his perspective. Just gonna pause it right here before we actually start getting any aircraft up, and we can still see the plane cycle times down in the bottom of our screen. This is like the 4th or 5th, I've lost count of how many times I've attempted to record this replay for the commentary. I actually struggled quite a lot on figuring out how I wanted to present this game for you guys, because it is, first of all, a very well played game. I'm not going to spoil for you any of the results of it, but I myself really struggled to think about how I wanted to commentate on the gameplay itself and how things work. So I'll just leave you with this little disclaimer at the beginning. These are my opinions, and based on how I would play my aircraft carriers, your opinion and knowledge obviously may vary. So I'm not going to really point out most things as mistakes. There will be one that I do believe is a mistake, and this is one coming up right now. We are, if this replay would, there we go, finally. Fighters taking off first, torpedo bombers, followed by dive bombers. That's our current take-off order. But if you can see in the bottom left corner of the screen, we can see here our ship is not moving. Normally on a map like this, on a standard battle where we have quite a bit of space area in front of us to play with, would kind of, it's not really a mistake, it's not a misplay, but it's definitely something that could benefit our opening here, because we are, of course, against an enemy SX, which is a US aircraft carrier, meaning that it has much longer turnaround times to get aircraft airborne. Right now, the enemy SX has got his second squad is starting to take off right now. We already have 3 in the air and 1 following up, simply due to our much faster cycle time. If we do a headwind launch, we can get our aircraft towards the middle of the map much earlier. Regardless, we do a very team-oriented opening. We have 2 Fletchers in our division after all. We have fighters launched towards the middle of the map. The first we spot is an enemy cargo. If we had launched torpedo bombers first with torpedo servicing expert or torpedo armament expertise or whatever it's called, the faster torpedo bomber cycle time, our torpedo bombers will cycle before our fighters. Launching double torpedo bomber into double fighter can net us some good results here. Anyways, we do spawn enemy fighter squadron. Both of our fighters are being shuffled around to engage, while our torpedo bombers, which circled around a little bit in the beginning, are moving to engage. The way I'm going to do this commentary is I'm going to pick up pretty much everything I can think of in terms of comments on the gameplay and how things can be improved, and I'm going to be doing things like this, pausing the replay quite a bit throughout the play of it, and just go over things that I think could be improved upon. Of course, keep in mind that with aircraft carriers, we're always focusing on a large portion of the game and the map at the same time, and it is very rare that any player will really be able to execute everything absolutely to perfection throughout an entire game. Especially with the way the Wargaming UI is set up, things like this can be very difficult. So it's really just me trying to pick up everything as possible, so that you guys watching this and well, anyone that may feel that they want to look at something can take it step by step and figure out what they want to improve on for themselves and what they can do better based on mistakes that, for example, I make in my aircraft carrier videos that I tend to try to point out, and of course learning from others like this. So the first thing we're opening up with is a disengaged strafe into a strafing on top, but well, this is the first engagement, and we're being very aggressive, which is not too bad. We know the enemy torpedo bombers and dive bombers are over here. For the moment, we believe the enemy is a 1-1-3. We haven't seen another dive bomber, so we don't actually know his exact loadout yet. So we're strafing the tagged squadron away and the other squadron on top. But we can see that with the way we're ordering our number 3 squadron to disengage to the side, this squadron here should have been named more like this and this. That way we'll catch this squadron when it starts catching, trying to chase our number 3 squadron and maybe get some additional planes. But let's play ball and see what happens. Obviously, I've seen this a few times. We do get 1 off the tag and 1 off the strafe, but did you see that? The enemy aircraft carrier did what's known as a counter strafe. Thankfully for us, he failed, and now on the right side we can see our opponent aircraft carrier is in fact playing 1-1-3, and he actually did a tag into immediate side strafe, which pretty much wiped out most of our number 2 squadron, which we used as our kill squadron in the opening stage. But we're starting to pick up some plane kills here and there, and the enemy aircraft carrier at this point has used quite a bit of ammunition, so we should be able to take the rest of this fight in our favor if we don't bleed out on ammunition first. And we can see 5 planes shot down. We still have some planes left, but our number 3 squadron, which is the low on ammo one, is running out as we pick up the kill on a full HP Akitsuki at the start of the game. Poor guy. Didn't have any anti-aircraft upgrades. We can see that on our torpedo bombers not having suffered any losses. But now our fighters are out of ammo. So it's our number 3 squadron now that is flying away, and the low HP squadron that is still tagged. So that's quite a bit of luck for us. We get a fire and a torpedo launcher crit on the Kagero. Not sure if his torpedoes are loaded or not. As our planes start returning back to base, and we can see that the ammunition is still tagged, but it's a 1 versus 1 fight because we've shot down 6 of his planes. He's shot down some of ours. He's shot down 2. He's also shot down 6. So we're reasonably trading equal. We've killed off an enemy Akitsuki. That's a very valuable destroyer kill to get in the early game overall, because it is the ship that, if using IFHE, can do some incredibly devastating DPS against us. But on the other hand, we are in no position whatsoever to stop the attack on the Knights now. And just looking at the map with the Knights now attack, we can see that the enemy aircraft carrier is rather competent in the proceedings of damage over time stack. We start moving our carrier toward the western side of the map, with the enemy death blobbing inside of their cap area. But that Knights now is probably stuffed. If the enemy aircraft carrier did even a remotely decent drop, and even if he didn't, okay, he actually dirt his drop up, but even if he doesn't, maybe the Knights did some weird acceleration. There's still a lot of firepower, and speaking of firepower, it's a lot of burn there, and this Knights probably is about to go down rather shortly, as we see that on North Carolina, which is stock hull, is actually AFK. Maybe just had a slow loading, game crash, yeah, never know. But currently not moving and not providing anything for the team. So we've lost a Z-23 and a Knights now to Miyako and Pensacola, and a lot of the enemy firepower on their spawn. One very important thing about playing aircraft carriers is really just to be patient about things, trying to not get too rash and making rash decisions, waiting for planes to come up to do the maximum amount of damage in the shortest period of time, because that's what carriers need, because they don't have the ability to constantly shoot like a battleship, which can delete the cruiser every 30 seconds with the guns reloading, and hit devastating amounts of damage that an aircraft carrier just simply cannot. You have a very long time to fly your planes to and from the battle, and then you need to cycle them, rearm them, land them, take them off, and so forth. Regardless, because neither of the aircraft carriers actually kill off an enemy squadron, the turnaround time for the enemy Essex, who just needs to return his planes up somewhere here, because we're fighting on his side of the map now due to the death blob, and we can see on the map the fighters are coming in. We don't have any fighters airborne right now, and that he's probably going to strafe us. Yes, indeed, he did strafe us. This plane needs to dodge, otherwise it's going to get caught. 3 planes lost already. We just need to break away any remaining aircraft, because we don't have a fighters airborne. In fact, one of them isn't even ready to take off. And we can see we've just very unfortunately fed away 2 enemy torpedo bombers, because we didn't have our fighters nearby to engage. IG and CBs have very fast turnaround times, but if we need to attack on the opponent's side of the map and our aircraft carrier itself isn't close enough as we actually get a visual on the position of the enemy Essex on the map, well, he'll get his fighters airborne before we can get all of our stuff cycled, because we have so many planes we need to land and take off, and each one of these actions take us 10 seconds. Well, 10 seconds to do each, so that's still 70 seconds. That's over a minute, just to land and, well, just to take off all of these squadrons. Anyways, we're now attacking the Pensacola. He's clearly aware of the aircraft, because we can see he's launched a float plane fighter, but he actually has no defensive anti-aircraft at this point up, so maybe this Pensacola just simply does not have defensive AA available. We still have fighters ordered to circle the North Carolina. That's not going to work. That drop over there is probably going to find itself failing to arm. Let's have a look at it. Ooh. It hit him, but it failed to arm. Now there is a chance that we will lose this torpedo bomber squadron to the enemy fighters, but our fighters are now moving up to intercept. We do lose 2 of the planes, and we actually do manage to pick up the float plane fighter. Not the world's most important thing, but cruiser float planes do last 6 minutes. We're trying to, yep, there we go. Going back to player view, we're trying to intercept the dive bombers on the path. He flies them smartly in towards our incoming fighter. So we know that our opponent aircraft carrier is reasonably competent with his overall management of aircraft. We don't want to be taking a fight under a Pensacola. At this point, let me just pause it here and take control of the camera. We've got a double stack fighter here, so we know that this guy is rather aggressive on the fighters. Enemy torpedo bomber, dive bomber stack up there, and I think we saw the rest of his strike somewhere around here. So if he's splitting up with our fighters here, there's no way we can effectively defend against everything. Against a 113 enemy aircraft carrier, there's basically 2 ways of doing it in a standard battle. Going to try to aggressively remove the enemy fighters can be a very effective way of shutting down the Essex in the late game, and we just try to take advantage of the IGN cycle times to just get aggressive damage and kills in the early game. However, with our fleet being split like this, we can see the North Carolina finally waking up, with our team being reasonably split all over the map. we need to be trying to play to the aggressive nature of our aircraft carrier and the passive, but well, not necessarily passive, but the slow alpha damage nature of our opponent aircraft carrier in the SX, and to try to hammer on his strike, prevent him from getting attacks while we're constantly cycling and he needs to wait for fighters, wait for planes to cycle, get them airborne, deal the damage over time, and we can go in with a massive torpedo bomber alpha. Of course, this is being a 113 SX. This is, of course, before the patch that introduced the forced US aircraft carrier loadouts. But now with this fighter, we have the option of either trying to split up and stop and intercept the enemy aircraft carriers' dive bombers and the stuff, and try to reduce his ability to deal damage to our battleships, because we're pushing and the enemy team is death blobbing, so that's going to be detrimental to us if the aircraft carrier also manage to pick up some serious damage in there. As you can see, we are already down on ships a little bit. We have 3 ships lost, they have 2. So yeah, one of the options to do against this fighter is just to fly both of them towards it. We know that the length of a strafing, you can see it right here. Just fly towards it. We don't want to be taking a head-on strafe against him because we will lose that fight, so just fly towards him. Once there's basically 1 strafing worth distance between the fighters. Right now there's 2. We just fly 1 squad to the left, 1 squad to the right. Hopefully he'll take the bait. He'll strafe straight down the middle and then just tag onto him from the side when he's flying past, and therefore we'll get a free kill on that. We'll just sit into a auto tag. This is of course the aggressive approach. Right now we're watching this, seeing what does my opponent want to do. As we're sending planes north, and it seems he's coming in like this, so he might take the bait, but he's definitely, yep, there we go, the strafing is there, so this is way too early of a click. It will fly into his range, and this just continues along this path, his strafing, which is aimed here, and here will completely miss us. So just order number 3 to attack, this to fly to the side, and this will be just fine. So unfortunately we do actually lose 2 planes onto the strafe. In this kind of a situation, just post a strafing, as we can see, he now again, this is something we didn't catch in the beginning, but we definitely catch that now. He immediately orders a strafing in towards us, so we need to order number 2 squadron to fly up to the side immediately, otherwise we're going to catch that. And we react to that just on time. We do pick up an extra kill. He only gets 1 on us in return, and this squadron needed to be flown in this direction to intercept and cut off the retreat path of the enemy SX fighters. And he's flying them towards the Pensacola, logically. It's lost. We're not going to catch that. We do try to place a strafing, but we can see if you hold alt, the plane is miles away. We're never going to catch that. And we actually lose a plane to the Pensacola's anti-aircraft, which is rather unfortunate. But in the meantime, we know the enemy aircraft carrier fighters are here, as we have a strike flying up north, but the enemy team is death blobbing, and we respot the SX, who may actually have concealment expertise at this point. We spot his torpedo bombers, so we're going to rush them down towards the North Carolina in an attempt to intercept. Forget about stopping the attack on the line, nothing we can do. We realize that with the proximity of the SX to the enemy's Colorado, we're probably not going to get a decent drop on that. So we just need to make sure that we get our planes out of dodge before the enemy's torpedo bombers fighters show up to intercept us. So here we are dropping on the Tirpitz. He's reasonably slow. We're doing a bit of a long drop, which is perfectly fine at this point. The dive bomber should just be held in reserve. One thing that, if you didn't know, let me just pause that, is that because you can see the plane went down and then return, you can do is to select your plane, order them to drop, and then just hold the shift button, and then off to the side here, and then shift F, the planes will fly to the side, avoid the majority of the anti-aircraft, fly down and return to your ship, so they'll fly here, and then immediately off to the side instead of returning backwards, and then returning now along a fixed retreat path directly back to our ship, which of course immediately gives away our position, not like a Majesty Star Bombers at risk recently spotted us, but in the event that we are not spotted, this can definitely aid us in trying to play some mind games with the enemy's fighter management, and a little bit with his intel. Regardless, we failed to stop the attack against North Carolina with the torpedo bombers, but we do have fighters on, so we should easily be able to pick up that squad. At this point, I would be using one of these squadrons just to strafe that torpedo bomber on the return path. It is incredibly important just to stop the enemy's... if you can't stop the attack, and in this case we see that the fighters have headed further to the north, that we at least punish him for being rather aggressive. And you can see now the Miyoko has triggered defensive anti-aircraft against us. So this is just a wasted dive bomber drop, and there's a good chance the enemy fighters, if he's paying attention, will catch us on the return. But with our fighters now basically being out of ammo, the enemy fighters thankfully didn't intercept our dive bombers on the way home. That could have been a very nasty loss. He is, however, going for the torpedo bomber, which we didn't realize was up there as our fighters run out of ammo, failing to punish any squad. We shouldn't even try to run this. This is a lost squadron. Just go in and try to... Well, I would not drop the Ithmo. That is a definite mistake. Try to drop the Tirpitz. Auto dropping the Ithmo is not going to get us anywhere. However, forcing a long drop against the Tirpitz, maybe our torpedo bombs could already have dropped, and one of them could have survived to actually get a hit. And at that point, if we are lucky enough to get a flooding on the bow of the Tirpitz, that guy is going to bleed a very large amount of health. Let me even see. That, in fact, would have killed that Tirpitz off at that point immediately. One thing I noticed is we do actually go back to the carrier screen. You know, we press the shift or Z key depending on if you have the you know, disable the shift key for carriers button turned on or not. You can see we did that again. I don't know if you're doing this intentionally, listener, but I suggest that if you aren't, that you check your settings and either remove the keybind or activate the setting to prevent that. It's settings, and it should be in controls here. There is a disable shift for aircraft carriers. Enable that, because if you're in a micromanagement fight and suddenly you press shift and you check what your planes are doing, that could easily cost you the engagement, especially when aggressive strafing maneuvers are on the menu. Anyways, Yugumo and Tashkent now pushing our remaining division mate in the Fletcher. We need to get aircraft in there immediately to support this guy, and he needs to get himself out of there, otherwise, well, losing a Fletcher at this point, losing our last destroyer could be detrimental for our team's chances to secure victory. Because an enemy death blobbing like that, having a destroyer to pressure their cap, or just to spam torpedoes at them can be very, very useful. Tashkent seems to be making a bit of a funny move. He's now pretty much, for all intents and purposes, beached himself, and he's now trying to reverse himself off the beach, but that makes him a very easy target for torpedo bombers, and that should be the kill. Down she goes, 2 torpedo bomber hits, target gone. We're now cycling our fighters, trying to get them airborne as we send our remaining 2 torpedo bomber squadrons to chase after the Yugumo. Fighters airborne, they should attempt to fly in the direction of the enemy's torpedo bombers and at least try to intercept that. Yugumo's trying to intel these torpedo bombers. That's not really going to work out well, and I wouldn't... Okay, if you're in a situation like that, do not slow down, because you just took one central. If that was a US torpedo bomber, that would basically be a guaranteed kill at this point. We're just going to give an auto tag against the torpedo bomber, the dive bomber in fact. I can even into English. A little bit of lag on the replay's end there, but the guy is trying to turn away. So this is probably going to turn into be a really wasted drop, unless the Yugumo suddenly decides to take one torpedo on the tail, and it seems like that might be what's... That Yugumo really screwed up the dodge. I know there are people that struggle to be able to detect this the actual line of a torpedo's travel, so that's not really something I can necessarily place on that guy. There might just be a player that isn't very good at recognizing the actual path of the planes. Regardless, again, we see that enemy fighters are coming in now. Our fighters are still chasing and expending ammunition on the dive bomber. One thing that we're not really been doing too much, and we can see we haven't killed too many of the dive bomber squadron, is we haven't been strafing enemy planes on their retreat path. Something I think is a bit of something we could have improved upon, and punish the enemy for being aggressive like this. Punish him for making moves. Anyways, we got double dive bombers in and stack them up. We do get 2 hits, 1 from each squad, only 1 sets of fire. I think he had his damage control party up at that point. We immediately go to tag on the fighters, and this time just get the squadron in, sit a tag on him, instead of trying to do any funny disengaged strafes on him and whatnot. We could, for example, if this guy flies his strike planes close enough to us, but he's smart enough to not do that. So, yeah, it looks like we should be able to win this engagement over here. We just simply had more fighters. And, of course, now we are enacting panic drop against the enemy's fighters, something that not so many people are aware of with US carriers. So we should be able to win that fight, hopefully without taking any more fighter losses, because we do not have anything to sustain that. In fact, look at that, we're out of fighter replacements. 3 planes left on our number 2 squadron after the replacement. However, again, we are not able to punish the enemy aircraft carrier and prevent him from getting attacks in, and on the other hand, we're also not punishing the enemy aircraft carrier on the retreat path. This fighter should just be sent in this direction immediately right now and cut these planes off on the return. Pensacola takes a torpedo bomber and gets flooding there. Takes another couple of torpedoes, more floodings in there. So he needs to get the speed up, build speed, and try to evade that. This Charnos just sailed into pretty much every single torpedo dropped. And there you go, we pick up another one on the flooding after the damage control party, so this guy is guaranteed dead, and down she goes to the flooding. We definitely should have strafed that torpedo bomber on the return path. Let me just pause that here. We go see a full HP torpedo bomber squadron. If we save this and the previous one down there after attacking the North Carolina, this enemy at this point would have been rather pressured on his torpedo bomber replacements, but we have more pressing concerns. We have a cargo in front of us. We are surface detected. It's not too big of an issue right now because the enemy battleships are wanking on their side of the map, so they're not really going to achieve much, and they'll hopefully be more busy trying to deal with our Charnos group over there. Anyways, let's continue playing the replay and see what happens. Sending a fighter over there to do some spotting. We've got dive bombers queued up to head towards the middle, which are now changed. Their cycling is heading towards the capture area. As our other fighter remaining, the one that eliminated the enemy's fighters, is now trying to stick around and wipe out the dive bombers on the return path. Again, a return strafing could have been better because then you can see we don't lose a plane to anti-aircraft. Anti-aircraft kills one, and now we just need to cycle that plane. And we even would have had ammo to kill both of those squadrons. So yeah, something that could be definitely improved upon with our gameplay. So just, again, I'm pretty much picking apart everything that I can think of. I mean, not sure about well, it is just nitpicking. That's pretty much exactly what I'm doing. But I think overall that could be very useful for an aircraft carrier player overall, no matter the skill level, just to pick up every single thing that they do. Even, even for people like, say I'm a reasonably good carrier player, I also appreciate when people pick up the small things, because there are many different styles, many different ways of doing things. Anyways, we now pull both of our fighters towards the enemy's Bleothvos. Very good move here. We're using this to pressure the enemy fighters away. But, of course, again, we're not being able to do this to stop the enemy aircraft carriers' attacks. And this is one thing that's been rather consistent with our play, is that we're very offensive-minded. We're not really very defense-minded. And at this point, our opponent in the aircraft carrier should be very close to getting himself a lot of damage. He's done a lot of damage to our battleships. Of course, it's farming battleships, but in the standard battle, that is generally one of the more important things to do. And again, let me just check the ammunition of our number 3 squad. We do actually have enough ammo. We could potentially have given a strafe on the return path for the enemy's dive bombers again. Something that, in my opinion, we should be slightly better at doing. And again here, in this case, we operate our torpedo bombers without any fighter support. Our number 2 fighter squadron is currently behind our back-end torpedo bombers. We're trying to drop the Belfast. We saw that a torpedo impact did occur there, and he just shot from there, so we're going in to try to finish the job. But it is a panic squadron, and now you can see our fighters going in. We do actually manage to pick up the 6th kill of the game. Very impressive on the scores there. We order our fighter just to auto-attack the enemy's aircraft carriers fighters, but at this point we do need to be careful, because if our squadron actually loses, or if it gets into friendly anti-aircraft, and we realized that before it gets to friendly enemy anti-aircraft, so that we definitely would have lost that squad. We're moving it back towards North Carolina, because we now know that the opponent aircraft carrier is out of fighter replacements. He will not be able to aggressively stop our attacks, so we should be able to, at this point, be able to stop more of the opponent aircraft carrier's attacks. Anyways, the dive bombers now being very efficiently used. We have quite a few dive bomber replacements left to just soak up the attention of the Turpitous low plane fighter. The drop has now been committed, so we can just press F to return the plane, something I have a tendency to forget, but we do actually remember that, so all of these planes are now returning home. The Turpits did damage control party with a single fire, and we do get the flooding. Doesn't matter if the drop is slightly poorly placed. It doesn't matter if we do get a double flooding after damage control party, and down the target goes. 7 kills, although 130,000 damage, which is very interesting. We've been very good at finishing off enemy teams' ships. And that is incredibly important to do in a matchup like this, where the team lists, for a period of time, the enemy had more ships than us, so it's just important that we pick off their stragglers, kill them off, and overall try to reduce the amount of damage the enemy aircraft carrier can deal throughout the course of a long game, and this is definitely one of those cases. There's only 2.5 minutes left of the game. Enemy carrier tries to do a head-on strafe. We don't even try to evade that, but because he head-on strafed and failed, we can just sit a tag on that and kill it off. And at this point, that should just be secure. Let's see, where is actually our last fighter at this point? It is... Oh, never mind, it's on the screen, I was looking at the map. But it's now arrived, so the enemy fighters are basically dead. A bit of an unnecessary move. Because, we do kill off the fighter without a single loss, because, again, the enemy aircraft carrier is not aware of the panic system that is kind of left over from old times. So we're trying to send our fighters here to intercept strikes, but we're never going to be able to intercept the strike against the Lion, and there we go, the enemy SS finishes that off for his Arsonist, so you can see that that's a lot of fire damage is done to that. Again, just strafe the torpedo bombers on the return path, and at this point, if we kill that on the return path, there would be no more enemy torpedo bombers, although, it doesn't matter at this point, because the enemy aircraft carrier has been getting consistently good damage off. And, in general, you can see the enemy aircraft carrier now has gotten his Witherer as well, so he's definitely done a lot of damage. I'm not even sure, has he gotten a high caliber yet? Let me check. Can I actually scroll? Doesn't seem like that's the case, but whatever. Yeah, enemy aircraft carrier has definitely done a lot of damage at this point. North Carolina going in against the broadside. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, we get unlucky, so we don't even manage to nick that kill. But there's still a reasonably healthy Colorado on the menu. But overall, I think that we've been focusing very heavily on our strike, and we've definitely done some good job there. 140k damage in terms of damage for an aircraft carrier is nothing special at all for tier 9. However, 7 kills to get that damage is definitely a very nice result overall. All our torpedo bombers are coming, and we know the enemy fighters are long gone, but it took us so long to remove the enemy fighters that, in general, with the enemy aircraft carrier having managed to stop a few of our attacks, although some of them were into the death blob, and the Miyoko also defends the dive bombers. That in general, the damage dealt there from the enemy aircraft carrier against our air wings has been better than our damage to him, because we failed to get the return path strafe, killing off planes on their retrieve path. Even if we can't stop the attack itself, we can at least avenge the damage caused and prevent the enemy aircraft carrier like this from being as incredibly aggressive as he has been. So a very good job by both enemy aircraft carriers in this case. Although the enemy aircraft carrier hasn't picked up as many kills, I think he's probably done a bit more damage overall. Although in a standard battle, we've gotten the kills, we've finished things off, and we've just managed to pull off sufficiently enough to keep our team in this battle alongside our surviving division mate in a Fletcher to secure us a pretty close and hard-fought victory. But in general, it's just for things to improve on. Try to consider using your fighters more aggressively against enemies' planes, especially on the retreat path, because just sitting a tag on a retreating bomber does give that bomber a chance to shoot down our fighters with its rear gunners. And of course it takes a lot of time, and with higher tier Japanese carriers it even takes quite a lot of ammunition to do, because some of these US bombers have incredibly large amounts of health, although of course post the aircraft carrier change for the US and the loadout, the torpedo bombers are a lot easier to kill with just a normal attack, due to the fact that they are tier 8 torpedo bombers, and that's the highest survivability torpedo bomber the US carriers get, even on the midway, although of course you get 12 of them separated equally over 2 squads. But yes, I just felt that we could have been so much more aggressive on the killing enemies' torpedo bombers, especially on the retreat path, which would force the enemy aircraft carrier to be more careful with his fighters or kill your fighters, which is beneficial because we can then try to defend our team while taking full advantage of the IJN aircraft carrier cycle times and getting more attacks off faster, and just hit harder, hit faster, and hit when the enemy aircraft carrier is not able to defend, and just outstrike him like that, while also making sure he needs more time to get already long cycle times going, because he needs to wait for the opportunity to attack while you're defending. Anyways, having a look at the post-battle results screens, 171,789 damage, 24 torpedo bomber hits with 8 kills, very impressive result there. We did kill off quite a few of the enemy's destroyers as well, so that's why we don't have as high damage. We even managed to pick up quite a few low HP targets. The dive bombers didn't really achieve us too much overall, and 36 planes shot down is not too bad, considering we are Taihou versus Essex in general, with the lower amount of ammunition and the fact that we've been using strafings a lot less. It means that we didn't actually get a higher number there. Having a look at the team score, 2,145 base XP. The enemy's Blyov was actually doing very good for himself, 1,659, I can't even read numbers. Our Fletcher, one of them, the surviving one, is reasonably high up on the team list, and overall, not too many planes shot down on our side, and we can see that with this, the enemy Essex was never really pressured on replacements, except finally running out of fighters in the end, but we never managed to actually punish him for that, so he pretty much used his fighter resources perfectly, because we never managed to deplane him, and we never really punished him on his retreat path either. So taking a look at the detailed report, we can see that quite clearly. We only shot down 3 enemy torpedo bombers, 14 dive bombers, which is not enough to pressure him, but we did pretty much eliminate all of his fighters. Equally, we lost pretty much all of our fighters, a few dive bombers, not a big deal, and we never actually got deplane of torpedo bombers, despite being punished with basically 12 torpedo bomber planes given to the enemy combination of aircraft carrier and team anti-aircraft together, but it didn't come to bite us in the ass in the end, so it's not really a big deal. Our torpedo bomber resources were used reasonably well enough in that sense. There really isn't much to pick up there, and anything I am picking up here is, of course, nitpicking on an amazing result and just picking up things that you could potentially consider trying to improve overall. And that's one thing about being a player in a video game like this. It is really just about trying to constantly improve and avoid stagnation. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay cast here. If you want to submit your replays in for nitpicking by me, or if you just generally want to see your replay showcase, maybe even pick up some of the things you want us to know could have done better, or if it's anything specific you want me to look at, send them in to replays.strangers123@gmail.com. There will be an address in the description below. Click on that, and I would love to see your replays. I do enjoy doing this kind of content, so yes. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.